Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Dr. Irby.
Hi. We're so excited to have our wonderful speaker
Good
today.
morning.
Hello. Hello from
Hi,
wonderful.
Dr. Irby.
Hi. We're so happy you're here. I have another meeting that I'm going to jump over to in just a few minutes, Dr. Kennedy, but I just wanted to say before you're introduced that I'm going to sort of pre-introduce or pre-share that, I want to tell you all, if you are graduate students, I knew Dr. Kennedy when she was a graduate student here, and she had a strategic research award. And I remember I had just come to Texas A&M, and I came to the presentations of the Graduate Strategic Research Award winners the end of the year. And I was absolutely blown away by all the work that she had done as a graduate student during her Strategic Research Award time, which that time of year is upon us, a nominations, Dr. Kennedy. So if you have anyone, please nominate. Or if you're interested, please talk to your advisors. Those are our awards that we give to our very top doctoral students at the end of their studies. They have to be senior level doctoral students. And we're giving one in each department and one college-wide. So we're just excited. And Dr. Kennedy was one of those recipients. And so just you'll just be impressed by all of the things that she has to share with you today as we've talked over the years that she's been here. Thank you, Dr. Kennedy, for coming, and I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful Christina Hall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dr. Irby. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining us this morning for Past the Publication. Like Dr. Irby said, we're so excited to be here with Dr. Kennedy today. And for those of you who are new, Past the Publication is a virtual event hosted by the Center for Research and Development in Dual Language and Literacy Acquisition, the ELRC Education Outreach, and the Graduate Student Advisory Council on everything graduates need to know regarding writing, publishing, research, grants, and the graduate experience. And if you have any questions throughout Dr. Kennedy's presentation today, please feel free to type them in the chat. We'll have a chance at the end of Dr. Kennedy's presentation to answer these questions during our discussion. And having said that, I'd like to introduce our speaker today, Dr. Kennedy. And so Dr. Kennedy is an associate professor in the Department of Kinesiology and Sport Management and the director of the Neuromuscular Coordination Lab at Texas A&M University. Dr. Kennedy received her PhD in kinesiology, motor neuroscience from Texas A&M University in 2015. Her dissertation research was recognized for a number of awards, including the North American Society for Psychology of Sport and Physical Activity Student Research Award in Motor Learning and Control and the Association of Former Students of Texas A&M University Distinguished Graduate Student Award. In addition, she received the U.S. Senator Phil Gramm Doctoral Award for Excellence in both research and teaching. And Dr. Kennedy's research addresses theoretical questions related to the neural control of human movement, as well as more applied questions that have important implications for aging, rehabilitation, and space exploration. She has published over 30 peer-reviewed journal articles, 2 book chapters, and 70 abstracts and conference presentations. Dr. Kennedy is currently funded by NASA to study effects of altered gravity on perception and bimanual coordination and is a NASA Ideas Faculty Fellow. She has published over 30, and so having said that and introducing Dr. Kennedy, I will now pass it over to Dr. Kennedy today, and she will share her slides with us. And I did mean to press through this. And so, yes, this is Dr. Kennedy. I'm going to pass it over to you now, Dr. Kennedy, so I'll stop sharing and the floor will be yours.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just making sure that you guys can see my slides.
Yes, looks great.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so My talk today is titled Maximizing Your Impact, Positioning Yourself for Academic Recognition and Publication Success. So with that, I need to define what academic recognition is and what do we mean by publication success. So just acknowledgement or praise bestowed upon individuals within the academic community for their contributions, achievements, or excellence in their respective fields of study. Now we'll be talking about awards, honors, scholarships, grants, fellowships, invitations to prestigious events or organizations, and even accolades from peers, mentors, and other institutions. Now, this is used to validate and celebrate individuals' efforts, accomplishments, and impact within the scholarly community, while also motivating and inspiring continued excellence. And so here's a picture of me winning an award at Texas A&M. I believe this one is from the Association of Former Students. But as Dr. Irby said, at Texas A&M, I was relatively successful in getting these awards. And one of the reasons I think I was invited to give this talk. So with that, I want to talk about, well, how do we leverage or how do we set ourselves up to get this type of recognition? So first, we need to look for award opportunities. So I think it's really important that we regularly look for what's available and not just look, make plans to apply for these awards. And we'll talk about how we go about doing this. But to give you an example, like how many people really read that bulk email list? And we're moving away from it, but this is where those type of rewards are advertised. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, oh, I wish I knew about that award. And it was advertised regularly. So I think it's really important to do that. And so going back, so we were identifying just different opportunities to look for awards. And again, many people say, oh, I didn't know about it, or we missed deadlines, right? So it's always recommended, to look at those emails, to even use a calendar function to identify due dates so that you can be aware and you don't miss important due dates with that. Regularly look at your professional organization's websites. That's another place awards are advertised regularly. Now, once you have identified an award that you want to apply for, you need to thoroughly read those instructions, right? So a lot of specific awards have these details that they want. So for example, we have our CV, and some people don't update CV. So let's say you're applying for a teaching award, you want your teaching front and center on that CV. Whereas if you're applying for a research award, then you might have that research. And we need to be able to delete sections and add sections relevant to what that call is looking for. So again, spend a lot of time going over that criteria, what the award committee will be looking for, and what information they need in the application package. We want to leverage our strengths and achievements. So effectively showcase and highlight what's important. Why are we a good fit for that criteria for that award? And don't be afraid to seek guidance and support from your mentors or people in your department. And really get their advice, maybe have them review your packet if time permits. And then that's an important component, making sure you have enough time to edit that award so people can give you feedback. We want to craft compelling application materials. So dedicate time for that award process is really important. So for example, if you're reviewing on an award selection and people do not put something in the correct format that was asked for, sometimes those applications are not even reviewed. So again, following the guidelines, giving yourself time to do what you need to do, and really highlight yourself as a candidate. Goodness. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we want to secure and build relationships. So when we go to conferences, for example, and this is a picture of my lab at a conference in Hawaii this last year. Darn, we had to go to a conference in Hawaii. But at conferences, you're going to meet elite level researchers in your field, peers that can be future collaborations. So really networking. And a lot of times people choose maybe not to go to the social events, for example. Well, a lot of interactions do happen at those conferences, and staying after when someone gives a talk to ask questions. These are all ways that we can put ourselves front and center and build that network we need. And when you build a network, you're more likely to be nominated by people for different awards, and also have people that you can ask for letters of support for those awards. Okay, so we also want to stay organized and meet deadlines. This is something I already discussed earlier, but I really want to emphasize the importance of making sure that we get our applications in on time, and to meet all the criteria for it. Now, some awards will want an interview or a presentation, right? So we again need to know the guidelines, but invest the time it needs. Again, not only to write the content for the application, but to prepare the presentations, and things that we can do to really enhance the effectiveness of our presentation would be to anticipate possible questions. One time, or what I really like to do when I'm giving research talks, is after my thank you slide, I have possible questions and like the slide, like a figure that might address it, like stuff I don't have time to get into my presentation, but I anticipate that question. And again, I'm prepared to answer that question with a visual, but also perhaps practice that so you're ready to go. Now, we can't anticipate all questions, so being able to think on our feet is really important as well. Now, to be successful in this process of garnering awards and other accolades, is we need to understand the landscape. So for us in academia, the key players, right, are going to be journals that are relevant to our field. So when we present our research, for example, what conferences, what journals are important for us? And in my field, I just am giving you two examples, right? So I'm kinesiology. It's about movement. This is a journal, Human Movement Science. This was just published this week, so that's why I did this. One of my grad students is first author. He's very excited about this publication. And then the second picture is a conference that I go to called Neuroscience, and it's 30,000 participants per year on average. And it is just overwhelming when you go. And I had an advisor the first time I went as a grad student, is that there's two types of people for this conference. People that absolutely love and feed off of this crazy environment, and also people that really hate this, right? But regardless of whether you love it or hate it, these are important opportunity for us to be out there and make those connections with this. So one thing I like to do for this is I have this 30,000 conference that I go to every year, but I also like the intimate, the more are the smaller conferences where you really get to talk to people and discuss. So I make it a point to go to both types of conferences every year just to put my work out there and to meet potential collaborations or even work with my current collaborators. Another important issue in understanding the landscape is just being aware of trends and emerging areas of research. And right here, this is work outside my wheelhouse, but this had to do with COVID and looking at what calls and what was out there that was available. And I took the tools I use, mathematically modeling human behavior, and I worked with groups that mathematically modeled COVID disease transmission. Now, in 2020, 2021, this was such a hot area. And this first paper on the left was a publication I submitted on May 9th, and it was accepted and published on May 10th. Think about that, like how quick this worked. And it was just that I was aware they were looking for this, they needed this information out here. And on a side note, this paper, again, mathematical model in May 2020 said the answer to the pandemic was wearing masks and that there was no way possible that it would be shorter than 2-year time period. Right. And then the same line of work, again, outside my wheelhouse, but being open for these opportunities, was published in Nature Communication, right? Which every scientist dreams of a publication in Nature, right? So again, something a little outside my wheelhouse, but I was able to use and jump on an opportunity that has really impacted my career. Now, at the same time, right, we want to talk about what does it mean to be successful with publications, right? So, disseminating our research is really important. It's a key indicator of academic productivity, and it plays a crucial role in advancing our knowledge, fostering intellectual exchange. Now, I know the talk has both awards and publication success in there, but I attribute the awards that I did receive because I was able to have the papers, the research to support it, and also the ability to communicate what I'm doing to a large audience. Right. So here is a list of publications just from my graduate studies. So I graduated in 2015 from Texas A&M University. And on the right is my very first publication in 2011 as a first author. And I'm very proud of it, right? It's in this presentation. So again, really working to build your research CV can be leveraged into award opportunities. Now, within this domain, right, we really have to be able to craft our research identity, right? So what are your interests? We have to have a niche. Now, my first set of graduate work, I worked in a lab where I did force control. It was just unimanual, one finger pushing a button, right? But the second lab I worked in was about bimanual coordination, moving your arms, 2 arms to accomplish a task. So my own line of research, I combined those 2 areas. So my research ended up focusing on bimanual force control. And that has been the basis of my line of research through my graduate school, and then assistant professor. And just this year, I was promoted with tenure to associate professor. So to give you an example, like you always hear, be able to give your 2-minute elevator talk. Well, we really don't do that now. I like to say your 1-minute Instagram video, right? If you only had a few minutes to convey, or 1 minute or less to convey what your research is, can you do it? And can you do it in a way that engages your audience and allows you to be memorable? So Dr. Irby introduced me today, and another reason why I'm here is I was in a committee meeting with Dr. Irby, and she remembered a presentation I did 10 years ago, right? And so if you think about how many presentations Dr. Irby has, I took it as a real compliment. So how can we make our research clear, concise, get the point, and engage people, right? And so just quickly, my research is, again, on bimanual coordination, which is the ability to coordinate the limbs together to accomplish a task school, right? So buttoning a shirt, tying shoes, driving a car, playing a musical instrument, all involves some type of coordination between the limbs. Now, in my domain, or what I'm particularly interested is when people have to coordinate multi-frequency. So if you think of tying your shoe, the hands are doing things at different times and at different rates to accomplish that goal. So if, for example, I had you do something fairly simple, tap 3 times with one hand while you tap 2 times with the other, could you do it? And I know we have a lot, just give it a try, right? 3 times with one hand. Now, unless you are a drummer, you might find that quite difficult to do. And that's because the brain sends a signal to one side of the body saying tap 3 times, and then another signal saying tap 2, and those signals interfere due to something called neural crosstalk. So that's why patting your head and rubbing your belly is difficult, right? We have these mismatches, right? So that has been the basis of my research. Why is that difficult? And can we do things to trick the central nervous system into being able to do it? So for example, if you're a video game player, right, you have one avatar on the screen and you have 2 thumbs controlling that movement. If I ask you what thumb's doing what and when, you can't tell me. So I use that type of feedback in a lot of my research, something called Lisaju feedback, where I provide information that can help people do it really quickly, and it allows me a window to access or see what's going on at the neural level, right? So quick introduction. Now, I have used this, my current work, I have 2 main lines of research. I'm funded by NASA, and I'm doing this bimanual force control in this environment, altered gravity. So this past summer, I got to go to Bordeaux, France, on a parabolic flight. Now, a parabolic flight is where the airplane goes straight up and straight down, straight up and straight down. So you're free falling. I actually did that 93 times, right, to collect data. On that trip, I was actually able to take 2 graduate students from our department. So the picture here with the female floating is my current PhD student who had a blast doing this. So another line of research I do is with Parkinson's disease. And I use the same methods, bimanual tasks, providing it a window into looking at what's happening at a neurological level. Now, my department head just this past week asked me this question. She's like, your research lines are so different, right? I just said, craft, identify your niche. And she called me out on that, but I had a response, and I'm like, both lines are looking at sensory motor decrements. One is in a population, elite level population, that the environment is causing artificial decrements in the sensory motor system. And the other population is occurring naturally, inherently, due to disease processes. And even I just shared my work about COVID, right? That is outside my wheelhouse, but I had to develop a plan how it could fit into this cohesive line of research that identifies me as a researcher in this field. And that's the tools and techniques I use, the mathematical modeling. So each opportunity you take, you want to go, how can I leverage this opportunity to fit my long-term goals? And then also just about being able to effectively communicate what you're doing. This picture right here is a drawing by my 7-year-old niece, okay, 7-year-old, on her interpretation of my research, right? And so in here, she has, how is your brain? How are your muscles? They're cross-talking, saying fine and good, right? So a 7-year-old, is getting the gist of that. So you have to be able to convey your research areas to a wide variety of listeners. Okay, also you want to increase your visibility. So things like utilize social media and academic networking sites. And then create an online presence through personal websites, blogs, and profiles. So here I just took a screenshot of our department's social media account, right? Advertising my work, a podcast that I've done, right? So just again, getting your information out there as much as possible really sets you up to be nominated for different awards. I'm going to give you another example. As a graduate student, I had the opportunity to go to Germany to do a research project. And at the time, I was super into social media, and I posted my experience online all the time. Well, the dean at the time saw my post and said, I would like to contribute to this, and provided me travel funds for something I didn't even request. Right? So again, making yourself visible, your line of research visible, and just engage with the broader academic community through public talks, seminars, and workshops, right? This type of talk is something I've never really done. My talks are all on research, right? But again, this was an opportunity to meet a new group of people. Upcoming students, you soon will be in the academic world, right? Potential collaborators. So you take every opportunity to put your name out there, right? So we, again, want to network within and outside academia. I'm first going to talk about within. We did already a little bit with conferences, and here's a picture of two of my students at a conference. At this conference, they had social hour during the poster presentation. We all had our glass of wine, and you just got to go through and talk to people. So many people skip those events. Oh, I'm not presenting. There's no poster I want to see. Go talk. This is a great opportunity to engage. Another picture here is an event that was hosted on campus called, it was esports, right? I'm not a video game player, but they asked me to come and just represent faculty members, right? So I made a fool of myself because I didn't even know what the video game was, right? But, I was there, I was meeting people, potential collaborations for my future, okay? We want to seek feedback, again, from our mentors, peers, and collaborators. So with mentors, right, like if you give your advisor enough time to really look over your information, they're probably going to give you great feedback, right? But a lot of us, I do this too, we're last minute. We have so many time constraints. It's like, can I get it in by the due date? And you don't have enough time to get a really good a set of feedback to make your package better. So really remember that, seek feedback from your advisors, but if they're not available, peers are a great source. And I love to read and provide feedback for my peers because one, I could see what everyone else is doing, and it enhances other skill sets that I need in academia, right? Which is maybe grading work, and conveying how you think people could do better. We learn from that process. And then we need to commit to continuous learning. Now, I'm not sure if it is a problem. Some people would say it is. Some people would say no. I have a problem saying no, right? Like if someone wants me to be on their publication or do a research project, I'm like, let's collaborate, let's figure something out, which means I'm going crazy, crazy, crazy. But at the same time, those experiences are leading to new opportunities. And I have learned so many new techniques or theories or ways to look at it from collaborating with someone outside my main discipline, for example. So always be open to those opportunities. And we want to always improve. And I have a slide a little bit later, right? But about criticism, and it's hard. Or even if we're writing, I think we become really connected to our words. I always say it's harder to cut your writing than to add on, right? Because we're so connected, we don't want to get rid of our words. But sometimes editing is the best thing we can do. So always be open to that criticism, because that criticism is going to make you better. We want to take proactive steps towards maximizing academic recognition and publication success. So that's the topic of this presentation, right? But our goal is to enjoy the journey of academia. Now, to give you an example, so many PhD students that I've worked with, they can't wait to get out, right? They kind of rush it, timeline. I'm going to say at the end of my PhD, there were no good jobs. There was no openings. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to wait one more year, kind of extend my PhD. I had this strategic research fellowship. And I took the whole year and I wrote publications. So I think that last year I had 5, 6 high impact publications, which then I was able to leverage into a job. So now instead of coming out with 5 publications, I came out with way more publications, which then made me so much more marketable. I learned so many new skills. So sometimes we just need to slow down and enjoy what we're learning, okay, and enhance our skills, because maybe in the long run, it will shorten. So for example, I was able to get this job without a postdoc, right? So if I got out with my few publications, I would have got a postdoc and worked on publications, but I did that in my last year of PhD. Now, that's not the right choice for everyone. I'm just saying if there's an opportunity or no opportunities, right? No good jobs out there at the time, can we enhance our academic journey here? Dr. Irby also talked about the research fellowship, which they're open applications now, she said, which that was one of the best things in my academic career, was having that opportunity to focus on my research without having to teach classes, for example, or other ways that we fund our graduate education. So given the opportunity, apply. It's a great experience, looks great on your CV. And you know what? We're all going to have setbacks. We're all, we apply for an award. We don't get it. Does that mean we're not good? No, it doesn't mean we're not good. It might not have been a good fit for us, right? So persevere. Have your goals in mind and make yourself the most marketable for your academic success. Look for those awards continually and apply. You know what? None of this happens unless you apply. Okay, you could get a no, but you could get a yes. Okay, and do we have any questions?
Thank you so much, Dr. Kennedy. That was such helpful insight, and it was really awesome to hear about your own personal anecdotes too. So yeah, people can feel free to put questions in the chat, or you can also raise your hand or unmute yourself. We have a few minutes here to answer questions.
Let's see. I'm looking at the questions. So people on chat, right, are talking about or agreeing how important networking is. Networking internationally can be a great experiences. It leads to collaborations across the nation. People are just agreeing that conferences, go to conferences and take every advantage of those conferences.
And Dr. Kennedy, on that line, talking about conferences, it made me wonder, and I'd like to pose the question, there's so many conference opportunities, and what are strategies or advice you might have in deciding and kind of figuring out which conferences you want to go to?
So first you want to look at what your research is and what's in your field, right? Like, is your topic relevant for that conference? And how, I said this in my presentation, but I tried to do two: the large scale, like very visible, but not a lot of social interaction. So neuroscience, for example, you just walk through posters all day. So there's that. And then NASPA is another conference I go to where, there's maybe 300 people that go to it. There's so many social events. So I look at both, and I'm going to tell one more story about how this played a role in deciding to use both types of conferences. So I mentioned that I just got tenure this semester, which was a long process putting your materials forward. And one thing you had to do was identify 10 full professors that could or know about your work. And for me, that was not a problem. I knew 10 people from the conference experience that I was able to make the list. I'm like, if you want 20, I can give you 20. But I know my peers here going up for tenure really struggle, and most people struggle to find full faculty members that are not in your department or you've worked with in the past to support your work. Just finding the best fit for your work is that.
Definitely. Thank you, Dr. Kennedy, and congratulations on tenure. That is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. And then I see another question on the chat that is about prioritizing your academic work, right? So without reading that full thing, as grad students, we have so many constraints, right? So you're taking classes, you're trying to do your own research, you might be working in a lab, teaching class, whatever it is. Now I'm saying add one more thing onto this: actively search for awards. But if you just make it part of the process, opening up these emails and right, those bulk emails, now we've gone to a new system, it's not so overwhelming, but seeing what's out there, what you can do. And I think it also starts with, what are your goals? Right? When do you want to graduate? What kind of school do you want to go? Are you going to be in an R1 school? Is that your plan? Or a teaching school? And start really focusing on those opportunities.
Definitely. And I think we did have someone raising their hand, so we have time for maybe one more question if someone was raising their hand.
What was it, Amaris raising your hand?
I think it was Amars, but if the hand went down, that's okay as well. I just want to make sure.
She
No,
said
that
no.
was just a reaction. I was just clapping for the tenure.
Oh, thank you so very much. Yeah, so on my slide, my email is there. If you have any questions from this, please reach out. And thank you for taking the time to listen to me.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Kennedy. This was such an awesome and insightful presentation, especially as a grad student. And I know we have a lot of graduate students here too. And for anyone, just Great advice. So thank you. And thank you for everyone attending. I know Dr. Edon's here and our international partners. Thank you so much for coming today. And thank you for such a fantastic presentation, Dr. Kennedy. And we look forward to seeing you all at our next paths. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.